The secret of simple living. Do you feel like you're always running, always demanding more from yourself, but still feeling empty inside? Like no matter how much you achieve, there's this constant voice saying it's not enough. What if I told you that Freud would say you're not living your real life at all? You're living to please your superego, that inner critic, instead of truly living. The peace you're searching for might be in something simpler, but profoundly authentic. Before we dive deep into this psychological journey, hit subscribe if you want to understand your mind and discover what Freud really uncovered about human nature. And stick around. This might completely change how you see your pursuit of happiness. The modern quest for simplicity. Have you noticed how everyone's talking about simple living these days? Minimalism, digital detox, slow living, mindfulness is everywhere. But why? Why are we, the most advanced generation in history, desperately trying to simplify our lives? Freud would have a field answer for this. He'd say we're not trying to escape complexity. We're trying to escape neurosis. We're trying to escape the psychological prison we've built for ourselves. Think about your typical day. You wake up and immediately your mind starts racing. I should exercise. I should eat healthy. I should be more productive. I should call my parents. I should advance my career. I should be a better partner. I should. That voice, that's not you. That's what Freud called the superego, your internalized critic, judge, and taskmaster all rolled into one. And here's the kicker. Most of us have confused this critical voice with our authentic selves. Freud discovered something revolutionary over a century ago. Most human suffering doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from internal conflict. We're at war with ourselves, and we don't even realize it. Freud and the neurotic modern society. Picture this. Freud walks into 2024 and sees people scrolling endlessly through social media, comparing themselves to others, working 60-hour weeks, while feeling guilty for not doing more, buying things they don't need to impress people they don't like. What would he say? He'd say, "You've created a civilization of neurotics, but let's break this down." Freud believed that civilization, society, culture, all those rules we live by requires us to repress our basic instincts and desires. It's necessary for us to live together, but it comes with a psychological cost. Here's a simple example. You're in a meeting with your boss who's being unreasonable. Your ID, your primal self, wants to tell them exactly what you think. Your superego immediately jumps in. You can't do that. You'll lose your job. What will people think? You should be grateful to even have a job. So what do? You smile, nod, and say great idea. Then you go home stressed, maybe snap at your partner, or stress eat, or doom scroll on your phone until 2 a.m. This is repression in action. And when we repress too much for too long, it creates what Freud called neurotic anxiety, that constant background buzz of dissatisfaction and unease that so many people feel today. The modern world has amplified this problem exponentially. We're not just repressing our anger or sexual desires anymore. We're repressing our need for rest, our authentic preferences, our genuine emotions, even our basic human need for genuine connection. Social media shows us highlight reels while we live behind the scenes. We're comparing our internal struggles with others' external facades. The superego has more ammunition than ever. Look at them. They're doing better. You should be like them. You're not enough. The superego is internal tyrant. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you did absolutely nothing without feeling guilty about it? When did you last enjoy a simple pleasure without your mind immediately jumping to what you should be doing instead? If you can't remember, you're living under the tyranny of your superego. Freud described the superego as our internalized parent, but not the loving, supportive parent, the critical one, the one that absorbed all the shoulds and shouldn'ts from our family, our school, our culture, and turned them into an internal voice that never stops judging. Here's how it works. You decide to take a relaxing bath after a long day. Immediately, the superego kicks in. You're being lazy. You should be exercising, or cleaning, or working on that project. Successful people don't just sit in bathtubs. You try to watch a movie for fun. The superego. This is a waste of time. You should be learning something, reading, being productive. You want to say no to a social event because you're tired. The superego. You're being antisocial. People will think you don't care about them. You should make an effort. Notice the pattern? The superego disguises itself as helpful advice, but it's actually keeping you from experiencing genuine satisfaction, at peace. And here's the cruel irony. The harder you try to please your superego, the more demanding it becomes. It's like having a boss who keeps moving the goalposts. You achieve something, and instead of celebration, you get, okay, but what's next? This isn't enough. Others are doing more. The superego promises that if you just follow all its rules, you'll finally be happy, successful, and worthy of love. But it's lying. It's designed to keep you striving, not thriving. Desire vs need vs compulsion. Now comes the big question. In your daily life, are you living what you actually want, or what you think you should want? Freud made a crucial distinction that most people miss. He identified 3 different drivers of human behavior. Genuine desire, what your authentic self actually wants. Neurotic need, what your wounded psyche thinks it needs to feel safe for. Worthy compulsion, repetitive behaviors driven by unconscious anxiety. Let me give you examples. You scroll social media for hours. Is that genuine desire? Probably not. Most people don't genuinely desire to see the 47th photo of someone's lunch. It's more likely a compulsion, an unconscious attempt to avoid anxiety, boredom, or uncomfortable emotions. You work constantly, even when you don't need to financially. Is that genuine desire? Or is it a neurotic need to prove your worth, avoid feelings of inadequacy, or meet some impossible standard your superego has set? You say yes to every social invitation, even when you're exhausted. Genuine desire to connect, or neurotic need to be liked and avoid the anxiety of potentially disappointing others? Here's what Freud would say. Most of us have lost touch with our genuine desires because we've been trained to ignore them in favor of what we think we should. Think about children for a moment. A child who's tired lies down. A child who's hungry eats. A child who's curious explores. A child who's sad cries. They're in touch with their authentic impulses. But then we're socialized. Don't cry. Be strong. Don't rest. Be productive. Don't explore randomly. Focus on useful things. Don't eat when you're hungry. Eat at meal times. Slowly. We learn to disconnect from our internal signals and live by external rules. We become strangers to ourselves. The path to a simpler life isn't about having fewer possessions. It's about reconnecting with your authentic desires and distinguishing them from neurotic needs and compulsive behaviors. Simplicity as return to authenticity. So, what would Freud say about the modern obsession with simple living? He'd probably smile and say, finally, you're trying to find your way back to yourselves. But here's the thing. True simplicity isn't about living in a tiny house or owning only 50 items. It's about living with less internal conflict. It's about alignment between your conscious choices and your unconscious desires. Think about it this way. When you're doing something that truly aligns with your authentic self, it feels effortless. There's no internal struggle. No part of you is fighting the experience. That's psychological simplicity. But when you're forcing yourself to do things that go against your nature, even good things, you experience internal friction. Part of you wants to do it, part of you resists, part of you feels guilty for resisting. That's psychological complexity, and it's exhausting. Let me give you a practical example. Maybe your superego says you should love networking events because they're good for your career, but your authentic self finds them draining and superficial, so you force yourself to go. But you're miserable the whole time, then feel guilty for being miserable, then worry that people can tell you don't want to be there. That's the opposite of simple living. Simple living might mean recognizing, I don't enjoy large networking events, but I do enjoy one-on-one conversations about topics I'm passionate about. Then you arrange coffee meetings instead of forcing yourself into situations that drain you. The simplicity comes from eliminating the internal conflict, not necessarily from changing the external activity. Freud believed that much of our psychological suffering comes from living inauthentic lives shaped more by our neuroses and the expectations of others than by our genuine desires and values. A simple life, in Freudian terms, is a life with less psychological static, less internal arguing, less energy wasted on internal conflict. The unconscious wisdom. Here's something most people don't realize about Freud's work. He didn't see the unconscious as just a repository of repressed trauma and dark impulses. He also saw it as containing a kind of wisdom and intelligence that knows what we need for psychological health and authentic fulfillment. Your unconscious is constantly sending you signals about what's working and what isn't in your life. But most of us have learned to ignore these signals or interpret them as problems to be fixed, rather than information to be understood. For example, you feel restless and bored in your current job. Instead of listening to this signal, you might think, I should be grateful. I should be more motivated. I should find ways to make this more interesting. But what if that restlessness is your unconscious, telling you something important about your authentic needs and desires? What if it's not a problem to be solved, but information to be honored? Or you feel anxious in certain social situations. Instead of seeing this as a character flaw, what if it's your unconscious telling you that these situations don't align with your authentic self? Freud developed psychoanalysis partly as a method for learning to listen to these unconscious signals, rather than constantly overriding them with conscious shoulds. This is why practices like dream analysis, free association, and simply paying attention to your spontaneous thoughts and feelings can be so valuable. They help you reconnect with the part of yourself that knows what you need. Here's a simple exercise Freud might suggest. For 1 week, pay attention to the moments when you feel most at ease and most conflicted. Don't judge these feelings or try to change them. Just observe them. You might discover that you feel most at ease when you're alone in nature, but most conflicted when you're trying to be social in large groups, or that you feel most authentic when you're creating something, but most artificial when you're consuming entertainment. This information is gold. It's your unconscious telling you about your genuine nature. The secret revealed. So what is the secret of simple living that Freud would reveal? It's not about having less stuff. It's not about moving to the countryside or working fewer hours, though those might be part of it for some people. The secret is learning to distinguish between what you genuinely want and what you think you should want. It's about reducing the internal conflict between your authentic desires and your superego's demands. It's about recognizing that the voice in your head that's constantly criticizing, comparing, and demanding more isn't your wise inner guide. It's often your neurotic superego, programmed by a society that profits from your dissatisfaction. The path to simplicity is the path to self-knowledge, and self-knowledge, according to Freud, comes through honest self-examination, looking at your patterns, understanding your motivations, and gradually learning to trust your authentic impulses, rather than constantly overriding them. Here's what this looks like practically. Instead of asking, what should I do? Start asking, what do I actually want? Instead of, how can I be more productive? Ask, what would feel satisfying? Instead of, what will people think? Ask what feels true to me. This doesn't mean becoming selfish or irresponsible. It means becoming authentic. And paradoxically, when you live more authentically, you often naturally become more generous, creative, and genuinely helpful to others, because you're operating from a place of fullness rather than emptiness. The simple life isn't about having fewer choices. It's about making choices that align with who you really are, rather than who you think you should be. Freud would say, the peace you're looking for isn't outside you. It's not in the perfect life circumstances or the perfect routine or the perfect mindset. It's in the integration of your different parts, your desires, your values, your genuine needs, into a coherent, authentic way of living. So here's my question for you. What's one area of your life where you suspect you're living to please your superego rather than your authentic self? What's one should that you might be ready to question? Share your thoughts in the comments. I read everything, and your insights often inspire future videos. If this resonated with you, subscribe for more deep dives into what Freud really discovered about the human mind. And remember, the path to a simpler life might be the path back to yourself. What fruity and topic should I explore next? Let me know below.